All right, let's talk about section 1.2, which is plurality and majority winners, which is on page 7 in your discrete math book. Let's get started. A plurality winner is defined as whoever receives the largest number of votes. Now I'm going to add a little bit and say number of first place votes. All right, now if you remember this preference schedule, first place is always going to be the first row of the preference schedule. So let's just highlight that just to show that we are only dealing with the very first place row. And now also look at the numbers down below because these numbers are very important. These numbers represent how many people believe A is in first place, B is in first place, C is in first place, and D. So all you would do is you would write down and examine the graph and say A has 8 first place votes, B has 5 first place votes, C has 6, and D has 7. So who has the most? It would be A. So A would be the majority winner. So this little thing that I erased here or blurred it out, it will be A is the winner because it was in first place 8 times. Now another example is there a plurality winner here? And if so, what is it? Once again, you are dealing with first place. Now this is a different setup than the other ones. It doesn't have the arrows, but I will always tell you that the way that I set this up is that first place will always be the first row. Now remember, you are to look at every person or every column and notice that C is twice. And so if C is twice, you go down and add the numbers. So C has 15 votes, M has 14, and then D has 29. So with this being said, D would be the plurality, and of course I misspelled that, so I apologize, plurality winner. Plurality winner. The next thing is talking about the majority winner, and it's whoever receives more than half of the votes cast. Now, this is where, in order to find the majority winner, it means did someone actually get more than half, more than 50% of all the votes cast. In order to figure that out, you have to figure out how many votes were actually cast. Very simple concept. Take all the numbers at the very bottom, and you would add them together. 8 plus 5, 6 plus 7, you would get 26 people. 26 people cast the vote for one of these 4 preference schedules. And then from there, you would look at, well, if they receive more than half, then what is half of 26? That would be 13. Now, 13 would represent 50% of the vote, but we're looking for who receives more than half. So what would be more than half? Well, that would be 14, because 14 is actually greater than 50%. And then you would look at all your first place winners here. And remember that A had 8 first place votes, B had 5 first place, C had 6, and D had 7. Did any of these any of these letters get above 14? The answer is no. So that means that there are no winners. There's not a winner for this example, and it will be a situation where you might come across that. Next one. Is there a majority winner? Once again, you have to figure out how many votes constitute over 50%, which means you would have to add all the numbers together, which when you add all the numbers together, you get 58 votes. So 58 people decided to vote in this particular election, if you want to call that. And so when you divide it by 2, you would get 29 being the 50% mark, but you need more than 50%, so the answer is actually going to be 30, the majority. Whoever has more than 30 votes would actually get the majority winner. So C would be 15, and I'm looking at all first place votes here. C would be 15, M would be 14, and then D would be 29. Now remember, if anybody is to be declared the majority winner, it has to be 30 votes. D has 29. Unfortunately, once again, the answer is going to be no majority winner. But let's change it up for a second. Let's say we decided to change this problem up and change the 23 to a 22. Okay? So if we decided to change the 23 to a 22, we would now have 57 people voting. Now, when you divide 57, when you divide it by 2, you get a 28.5. Now, you're dealing with a decimal here. Now, 28.5 represents 50%. Now, what makes this different than the other one dealing with even numbers is with an even number, you would have to go one whole vote up. But when you're dealing with an odd number where you're dealing with decimals, all you would do is round 28 to 29. So 29 would now be what would be considered the majority winner. So going back to C being 15, M being 14, and D being now 28, because remember I changed this. Remember, 29 would be what would be declared the majority winner. 28 is what D has. So unfortunately, once again, we're dealing with no majority winner.